After installing and activating the software on your computer, it's now ready for you to create your database. So if you double click your icon and click on the demo data button and then double click on the Army demo data database, log on with user 01 and the passcode of 123456. Once we're logged in, we need to go to Maintenance and Create New Database. So in here we need to fill in our details. So we put our database name at the top. So this is generally the same as your unit name. So we can copy and paste that in there. Enter your address and postcode, telephone number, email, etc. The charity number, if your unit has got just one charity number overall, you can enter that in there. If not, leave that blank. You can always enter a charity number against each individual fund as well. So moving over to earliest year start date. If you're converting partway through a financial year, then the earliest year start date is going to be the beginning of your current financial year. So in this example, my years start on the 1st of June. So the earliest year start date is going to be June. And I'm going to be entering in my balances as at the 1st of August. So the earliest open month is going to be August. So once we've made the selections there, you've got a unit we use debtors, creditors and shop and bar trading options. If you don't want these particular menu options to be displayed, you can untick them. You can always change them at a later date in system maintenance if you need to. If you're VAT registered, then select this option here and it will ask you for your VAT details. Once you've entered the information, click on Create. Yes, we want to create a new database. Yes, I'm sure I don't want to enter a charity number. And it's now saying my database has been created successfully and I need to log into it. So I can come out of there, close it, and if I reopen the software, there's our database there. So we double click it and we log in with user 01 and 123456, which are the defaults. And we're now logged into the live data. Now we need to add the fund codes in. So if we go to maintenance and fund maintenance. So I'm going to start with all the unrestricted funds first. So these were what would have been the separate databases in version 7. For example, the Officers Mess, PRI, etc. So all these unrestricted funds would be added as parent funds, and the restricted and designated funds that belong to each parent fund would be sub-funds. So let's start with entering in the Officers Mess. So we just click on Add. In the fund code here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to number the funds. This is because the fund code selection boxes in the software are listed in alphabetical order. So if I number them, then they'll appear at the top of the list, which makes them easier to select. So if I put in the details. So although this is an unrestricted fund, we're going to mark it as designated. And you can put a default money account. So if it just uses the one bank account, you can select it there. It's just a default, so you can change it at transaction level if you wanted to. The retained surplus code is always going to be B900. And because this one is a parent fund, we're going to leave the sub-fund flag as no. And we just click on record. I'm going to add the next one in. So I've now added 3 parent funds. So now I'm going to enter the sub-funds. So these are the restricted funds that belong to those parent funds. So let's add in a fund for the officers' mess. So I'm going to prefix it with OM for officers' mess. And this will be restricted. So because this is a sub-fund, I'm going to say yes. And now I need to assign it to, so attach it to a fund. So because this is the officers, it's the officers' mess, and record. Add another one. Again, this is another sub-fund, and record. And if we add one more, so this time this is going to belong to the PRI. So this time the parent fund is going to be the PRI. And record. So you just continue to do that till all your funds have been added. Now we can move on to adding the debtors. So if you do have debtors that you wish to add, you can use the import debtors, or you can manually add them into debtors and debtor maintenance. If we go back and have a look at our import debtors. So what you'll need to do is from version 7 is extract out a list of all your debtors, and then you can remove all the ones you don't want to import from the file, and then we can import them here. So in the import file, click on the button with the dots, browse your computer till you find the file you want to import. So they must be imported one fund at a time. So I'm going to do the officers' mess first. So this gives you a preview of the file, just for information so you can make sure it's the right one. If you click on core fields, so it's already mapped from the majority of the fields from the file. What you do need to do is in the address, you need to select mailing address to map that field. In the fund code at the top, so we want to select which fund all these debtors belong to. So in this case it's the officers' mess. So it's automatically put a fund prefix in. So it will prefix all the member numbers with 10 for one officers in this case. So once we've mapped everything, all you do is click on import. Say yes, you want to import them. And it will tell you how many members you've imported. Just check the import report here. If there's any problems, anything's been skipped, then it will give you the details here. So you would just follow that same procedure for all your different funds. So if I select the PRI this time, again, it gives me a preview. Click on core fields, fund code, PRI, put the prefix in for me, select my mailing address and import. And that's that done. If you have any creditors that you want to set up in the system, if you go to creditors and creditor maintenance, you'll need to click on add and enter the details. And then just record. So you just add however many creditors that you need in the data. Now we can move on to looking at users. So if we go to maintenance and user maintenance, so the data is created with one user code already, the user 01. So you'll need to add any additional users you need. So you just click on add down the bottom, give it a user code, put in user 02 this time, and put in the name and enter the passcode and repeat that confirmation. And then fill in any other information you need. So if this is an admin user, then say yes there. It gives them access to the admin side of things. If you want to give them an expiry date or a date to renew the password, you can fill those fields in here. So you just click on record and then just repeat that for all users you want to enter in. Then it's also advisable, once you've done that, is go back to user 01, which is a default user, and either delete it or you can update the password so it's not 123456. When everything's been added and set up, we can enter the opening balances. So if we go to maintenance and opening balances, so what we need to do is give it a reference. So with the opening balances, you need to enter a transaction for each fund. So I'm going to start off with the opening balance for the Officers Mess Unrestricted Fund. So I'm going to select the fund code there. So that's our one officers, the parent fund. And I'm going to put our opening balances date. So this is going to be the 1st of August. So this is what the my conversion date is. So these are the balances as at that particular date. So because you're doing it partway through the year, you are going to have turnover against the G codes, the income and expenditure codes. So if we input our balances, so we put how much is in the bank, so we also need to put the entries against the G codes, so how much we've had voluntary income, and all the relevant codes. And then also the expenditure. If you have any debtor or creditor balances, then these will need to be added against the individual debtor and creditors. So if you scroll to the bottom of your list of accounts, you'll see here the P's are for creditors and the S will be for the debtors. So you mark it against each individual account. So once you've entered everything in, the balancing entry is going to go against retained surplus. Put our entry in there and then we confirm, checks everything's entered and then record. So that's the balances done for the Officers Mess. So we go back into the opening balances and now we need to enter them in for the restricted funds. So this is the opening balances for the Officers Mess Entertainment Fund. Same date. And then we enter the details here. So you might have £1,000 in the bank, which has been generated with £500 in the current year, and the retained surplus is what you had in that fund at the end of the last financial year. So the balance will always end up having to be 0 at the top there. Make sure it's 0, or let you record if it's not 0, and then confirm, record, and then you just repeat the process for all of your funds until you've entered all the balances in. Once you've done that, if you have a look in inquiries and account inquiry, if we select the bank account, you'll see all the opening balances entries I've made here against the bank account. So you've got one for the Officers' Mess and then one for the Officers' Mess Entertainment Restricted Fund. So you can see the overall balance of the bank account, but you can also restrict it for a particular fund. So if I just want to see the balance of the restricted fund, I can select that and click on balance, and it shows me the balance there. So once you finish entering all of your opening balances, the overall balance of your bank account in here should equal what's actually in your bank account.